GAAP allows companies to choose various methods to place a value on their inventory. And our next exercise, we're going to be looking at a company that uses the periodic inventory system. Remember, in the periodic inventory system, cost of goods sold is determined at the end of the accounting period. At the end of the accounting period, the company will count its physical inventory. Before we can calculate cost of goods sold, we have to place a value on those units that are in the ending inventory. So let's take a look at exercise 8-13. The problem tells us that the company had inventory on hand, they made purchases during the period, they had sales during the period. Remember, under the periodic inventory method, we will not be matching a cost of goods sold to each sales transaction. All right, we're going to look at the facts and we're going to determine the ending inventory and cost of goods sold using three different valuation methods. First in, first out, or FIFO, last in, first out, or LIFO, and the weighted average. So let's begin by looking at our inventory layers. This company began the period with 2,000 units that cost $6.10 each. So the total cost was $12,200. We made two purchases. The total costs for each have now been extended, and during the period, the company had 18,000 units available for sale at a total cost of $97,200. Now the problem tells us we had two sales transactions, one for 8,000 units, one for 7,000 units, and that at the end of the period, the company had 3,000 units on hand. So if the company had 18,000 units available for sale and had 3,000 remaining, that means it sold 15,000 units, which equals what's given in the problem. So now we're going to determine the cost of the ending inventory. Remember, we said that there were 3,000 units in ending inventory. And now the trick is to determine which inventory layer the 3,000 units in ending inventory came from. Under first in, first out, we're going to assume that the oldest products were sold first, meaning that the latest additions are still in inventory. Our last purchase was on 8/18. We purchased 6,000 units, so we're going to assume that all 3,000 of our ending inventory came from that purchase of August 18th. They were at a cost of $5. So our ending inventory is our units times our valuation cost. In this case, $5 based on the purchase of 8/8. Goods available for sale, 97,200. We're then going to subtract out the ending inventory, which we just valued at 15,000. So our cost of goods sold under the FIFO method will be 82,200. A different valuation assumption, last in, first out, assumes that the ending inventory of 3,000 units comes from our earliest inventory activity. So the first layer is going to be from our beginning inventory. Notice we only had 2,000 units in beginning inventory. We have 3,000 remaining at the end, so we have to go to the next layer of inventory, the purchase on 8/8 for the remaining 1,000 units. So our 3,000 units in ending inventory will come from our beginning inventory and from our purchase of August 8th. So August 8th had a unit cost of $5.50. And then we do our multiplication of the total cost. And our ending inventory under LIFO is going to be valued at $17,700 opposed to the $15,000 we determined under LIFO. So again, our cost of goods available for sale is the same amount, $97,200. We subtract out our ending inventory using LIFO valuation, and our cost of goods sold under LIFO will be only $79,500. The last valuation technique we're going to use is the average cost. To apply this, we begin with the cost of goods available for sale, saying $97,200. We'll then determine the number of units that are available for sale, which was 18,000, and we'll determine the average cost by taking the total cost and dividing it by the total number of units, and come up with an average cost of $5.40. We said we had sold 15,000 units. We're going to apply the average cost of $5.40. So our cost of goods sold is the number of units that we sold times the average cost. And we're going to have a cost of goods sold using the average cost method of $81,000. Finally, we have to put a value on our ending inventory. We said we had 3,000 units in our ending inventory. We're going to use that same average unit cost of $5.40, and our valuation of ending inventory using the average cost method is $16,200. So each of our three methods will produce a different ending inventory. Since ending inventory is used to compute cost of goods sold, that means we'll have a different cost of goods sold amount under each of our valuation methods. Different cost of goods sold is going to produce different gross profit. Different gross profit will produce different net income, which result in different balances, differentiating balances in our retained earnings.